Okay, so we started and we started Don Juan and we goes up to this two slides we have completed yesterday. So rather we will start today from the very beginning. And at the very beginning, we see in Canto 1 that the author Byron had started with uh, the hero. And who will be the hero? According to Byron, that his friend, old friend Don Juan will be the hero of this mock epic poem, and his name is Don Juan. And Don Juan was born in Seville, Spain. His parents are Don Jose and Donna Inez. Donna Inez is learned and has a good memory. Her favorite science is mathematics. She has a smattering of Greek, Latin, French, English, and Hebrew. That means Donna Inez uh, is very much interested in case of learning, and she has knowledge, overall knowledge about Greek, Latin, French, and Hebrew. And Don Jose has no love for learning and for the learner. Actually, the couple Don Jose and Donna Inez, they are mismatched marriage relationship. Okay, so one loves, that means Donna Inez loves learning, and Don Jose doesn't love learning and the learned person. And as his wife is rigidly virtuous, as he is incautious by nature, he is forever getting into scraps. Okay, so it is about Don Jose and Donna Inez. They are the parents of our hero, Don Juan. Consequently, there are quarrels between two, that means Don Jose and Donna Inez. Donna Inez, with the help of the druggist and the doctors, tries to prove that her husband is mad, that we have gone that story previously, that Donna Inez didn't like her husband, and for this reason, she always tried to prove her husband as a mad person with the help of druggist and the doctors. Eh? And she also keeps a diary, and in which she notes all his faults and even searches through his tons of books and letters looking for evidence to use against him. That was the condition. That means the mismatched marriage relationship will not make the persons happy. That we have observed in the marriage relationship in the life of Don Jose and Donna Inez. That is indicated at the very beginning of this Canto 1, John 1. Their friends and relatives try to no avail to bring about reconciliation. That means their friends, that means Donna Inez and Don Joseph's friends and relatives, they try to reconcile the situation so that they can pass their life happily, but they failed. And their lawyers recommend a divorce. But before the situation can reach a critical point, Don Jose dies. That was the initial stage. That means Don Jose dies, and there remains Don Juan, their son, and Donna Inez. Let's see what happened next. Donna Inez makes herself responsible for the supervision of Don Juan's education. After the death of her husband, Donna Inez thought that my concentration will be on my son, Don Juan. And he started riding bicycle, riding horse and other things. Fencing, that means getting protection from the other body's attack. Gunnery, that means how to use gun in case of fighting and others, and how to scale fortress in case of making fortress. Languages, science, and arts. And his education is to ascertain a degree in practical. Actually, this thing that Don Juan uh, is taught by his mother, that is impractical. Impractical in which sense? That is science, language, arts, fortes, gunnery, that are not related to the practical knowledge, practical knowledge of life, how to face life in the practical situation. And most of the education was done by the tutors. Don Juan didn't attend school. And for this reason, it is said that his education, that means Don Juan's education, is impractical, that he has got from his mother and the tutors. And for he is taught nothing about life, and he studies the classics from expurgated edition. And that means when a book is written, at the time of edition, some portion of the books are um, edited. That means some portion of the books are omitted. বইয়ের কিছু কিছু অংশ বাদ দেওয়া হতো, বাদ দিয়ে সেটাকে পাবলিশ করা হতো। বাদ দেওয়া হতো কেন? যে এই বইয়ের এই অংশগুলো আসলে পড়া উচিত না, রিডাররা পড়লে তারা ডিমোটিভেট হয়ে যেতে পারে বা অন্য পথে চলে যেতে পারেন। ফর দিস রিজন সাচ বুক are written. But our hero, Don Juan, he was very interested about the thing that was edited. যে অংশগুলো বাদ দেওয়া হতো সেই অংশগুলো পড়ার প্রতি আমাদের আগ্রহ ছিল আমাদের হিরো ডন জোয়ানের। In short, his mother sees it to that he receives an education cal calculated to repress all his natural instinct and keeps the facts of life from him. And that means Donna Ines, that means Don Juan's mother thought that my child, that means our son, will be able to play the natural instinct what he has. সন্তানের মধ্যে যে সুপ্ত প্রতিভাগুলো আছে সবগুলোই বিকশিত করার চেষ্টাই করেছিল ডোনা ইনেস। Among Donna Ines' friends, we get another character. Her name is Donna Julia, a beautiful, intelligent young woman with Moorish blood in her vein. And she is married to Don Alfonso, a jealous man for than twice of her age. Donna Julia is Donna Inez's friend. That means Don Juan's mother's friend. Don Juaনের মায়ের বান্ধবী হলো ডোনা জুলিয়া, তার সাথে বিয়ে হয়েছিল ডন আলফেন্সোর। Donna Julia, beautiful, young. She is 23 years old, and she is married to a man. His name is Don Alfonso. That doesn't matter, but the man is 50 years old. That means twice of her age. Donna Julia was 23 and Don Alfonso was 50. So there's a loveless marriage. Previously, we see Donna Ines and Don Jose, that means Don Juan's father. They have loveless marriage, mismatched marriage. In the same way, we see that Donna Julia and Don Alfonso had the same kind of mismatched marriage relationship for the cause of their ages. Actually, the teenage or young people will be thinking a different way, and the old people and the aged people will be thinking in a different way. In case of Don Jose and Don Juan, there was indicated that what was their ages, but they are opposite. Don Jose and Donna Ines are opposite in mentality. But in case of Donna Julia and Don Alfonso, they are opposite in age. One is 23 years old and another is 50 years old. So this is also a loveless marriage. It is rumored that Donna Ines and Don Alfonso had once been lovers, and that she cultivated the friendship of Donna Julia to maintain the association with the husband. So Donna Ines and Dol and Fanso. So one couple, Don Jos and Donna Ines, they are married. And another, Donna Julia and Don Alfonso. Don Jos dies, and Donna Ines had previous relationship with Don Alfonso. So Donna Julia is Donna Inez's friend. Donna Inezের বান্ধবী হলো Donna Julia. So Donna Ines, John Doaনের মা, ডনা জুলিয়ার সাথে সম্পর্ক রেখেছিল একটা কারণেই, যাতে সে তার প্রিভিয়াস ফ্রেন্ড ডল অ্যানফ্রান্সোর সাথে রিলেশনশিপটা কন্টিনিউ করতে পারে। ডোনা জুলিয়া, to maintain the association with the husband. Donna Julia has always been fond of Juan. In the same way, Donna Julia, she is 23 years and she is married to Dol Alfonso. Donna Julia had a sympathy for Don Juan. That means Donna Inez's son, Don Juan. But when he becomes a young of 16, okay, naturally, mother's friend will be sympathetic to the young boy, Don Juan. But next time, what happened? Next time, when he becomes young man of 16, her feeling towards him change and become a source of embarrassment to both of them. Okay, so Donna Julia and Don Juan, their relationship grew, and in one portion, their relationship became the cause of embarrassment for Donna Julia and also for Don Juan. Don Juan, 16 years of age, young boy, and Donna Julia at that time 23 or 25 years old. Juan doesn't understand the change that is taking place in him, but the more sophisticated Julia realizes that she is falling in love with Don Juan. She resolves to fight her growing love and never to see Juan again, but the next day finds a reason for visiting the mother. So Donna Julia feels love for Don Juan, but at the same time she is thinking she had been suffering for the prick of conscience. বিবেকের কাছে সে দায়বদ্ধ, Donna Julia, এবং Donna Julia had been thinking that how he will be making relationship with a boy, young boy, Don Juan, who is her friend's son. And for this reason, Donna Julia thought that, okay, our relationship will be platonic, and we will also be the friend only in case of platonic relationship. So only friendship, friend. She then convinces herself that her love is only platonic and persuades herself that it will remain that way. But Juan, meantime, cannot understand what he is pensive and inclined to seek solitude. Okay, so John, as a young boy, he couldn't understand everything what was going on in Donna Julia's mind. That was the situation. And in the situation that happened, one June evening, June the summer season, at that time, Julia and Juan happened to be in a bower together. So it was the situation. That means Donna Julia wanted to have a platonic relationship with Juan. Juan can't understand what was going on in Donna Inez's mind. In such a situation, one day, Donna Julia and Don Juan had been passing a time in a house. One of Julia's hand happens to fall on of Juan's. So subconsciously, Julia's hand falls upon Juan's body. And when the sun sets, the moon rises. Juan's arm finds its way around Julia's waist. Julia strives with herself a little and whispering, "I will never consent," but finally she consented. So they became lover and beloved after that situation. As Julia lies in her bed one November night, so summer and then November night, there arises a tremendous clatter. Abruptly, there remains a problem. It started a problem. Julia was in his bedroom, in his room, in his bed one night. Abruptly, there remains a clatter outside. And her maid, that means Donna Julia maid Antonia warns her that Don Alfonso is coming up the stairs and the half of the city at his back. Donna Julia তার যে একজন সহকারী অ্যান্টোনিয়াকে নিয়ে একটা বাসাতে থাকে এবং হঠাৎ করে শোরগোল বাইরে পড়ে গেল। হ্যাঁ, জন আলফান্সো মাঝে সাঝে বাসায় আসে, সবসময় আসে। একদিন হঠাৎ করে রাত্রে দেখা গেল যে তার মেয়ে দৌড়াইতে দৌড়াইতে এসে বলছে যে ইয়েস, ডন আলফান্সো অনেক লোকজন নিয়ে তার বাড়ির দিকে আসছে। The two women have barely enough time to throw the bedclothes in a heap when Don Alfonso enters the room. Okay, so Don Alfonso with many fellow men came to Donna Julia's house. The tomb and Julia indignantly asks Alfonso if he suspects her of wrongdoings and invites him to search the room. Alfonso and his followers do so and find nothing. Don Alfonso came to search whether Donna Julia had a relationship with Don Juan or not, and if there is any person in their house. And for this reason, Julia became angry and says that, yes, what do you think? You are suspecting me, and for this reason you have come. So search the room. Alfonso and his follower do the so, that means search the room and found nothing. And while the search is going on, Donna Julia protests her innocence with angry eloquence, give him numerous examples of her virtue and powering abuse upon her luckless husband. So at the time, Don Alfonso was searching the room if there is anybody in this room. He was not getting anybody in this room, and at that time, Donna Julia said, yes, what do you think? You are suspecting me that you have found nothing. So what is your position? So you are very much envious to me, and for this reason you are searching, and such kind of situation you have created. So when no lover is found, Don Alfonso tries to excuse his behavior, but only succeeds in drawing sobs and hysterics from his wife. So Don Alfonso didn't find nothing and made his wife angry. Alfonso, shamefaced, withdraws with his followers, and Julia and Antonia bolt the bedroom door. Okay, so when Alfonso was shamefaced and he left the house. And when Don Alfonso left the house, at that time, Julia and his maid servant Antonia bolt the room. That means locked the bedroom from inside. No sooner has Alfonso gone, Alfonso যাওয়ার সাথে সাথেই Juan emerges from the beneath of the pile of the bedclothes where he has been hidden. Actually, যখন ডন আলফান্সো আসছিল তখন তাড়াহুড়া করে তারা কাপড় চোপড় দিয়ে সে বেডের উপরেই হচ্ছে ডন জোয়ানকে হচ্ছে ঢেকে রেখেছে। এখন ডন আলফান্সো সব জায়গায় খুঁজেছে, কিন্তু বেডের উপরে যত কাপড় চোপড় জমা করা আছে, এই কাপড়ের নিচে কে আছে বা কি আছে এটা সে খোঁজে না, এই জন্য সে পায় নাই। যখন আলফান্সো রুম ত্যাগ করেছে, ওকে, তখন সেই কাপড়ের মধ্য থেকে বের হচ্ছে ডন জোয়ান। Knowing that Alfonso would soon be back, Julia and Antonia advises him to go into the closet. Actually, Julia would know that Alfonso is a very clever man. So at many times he may return to search whether there is a boy or not, or man or not in this house. এই জন্য এটা জানতে পেরে জুলিয়া এবং অ্যান্টোনিয়া জোয়ানকে বললো যে তাড়াতাড়ি তুমি ক্লোজেটের মধ্যে ঢুকে যাও, in the toilet ঢুকে যাও। But hardly had Juan entered his new hiding place when Alfonso returns. Alfonso makes various excuses for his conduct and begs Julia pardon, while she half gives and half withdraws. Okay. Alfonso returned এবং বাসার বাইরে থেকে জুলিয়াকে বলছে যে yes, I am very sorry that I came. I suspected you, and for this reason I am very much sorry. Please pardon me. So Julia inside the room, he said that okay, you will be pardoned. And sometimes they are talking. That was the situation. That means situation was quite normal at that time. Okay. But what happened next? The matter might have ended there had Alfonso not stumbled over a pair of men's shoes. Oh my God. When Alfonso was talking with Julia in such a way, abruptly, Don Alfonso got stumbled with men's shoes. তার পায়ে ধাক্কা লাগলো, মানে রুমের মধ্যে একজন ছেলের শু সেখানে আসলে সে শুয়ের মধ্যে সে হোঁচট খেল। Oh my gosh. He promptly goes to get his shot, and abruptly, that means promptly, Don Alfonso get his sword out and try to kill the boy. Julia immediately urges John to leave the room and make his exit by the garden gate, the key to which he gives him. Julia, সাথে সাথে, in case of that European countries, every room will be two exits. One the front gate and another the back door. Back door will be open to garden. তার মানে কেউ চাইলে সামনের দরজা থেকে আসতে পারে, পিছনের দরজা দিয়েও বাড়া। প্রত্যেকটা every house will be such kind of entrance and exit. Okay, so Julia জনকে বললো যে এই চাবি নাও, তুমি তাড়াতাড়ি এই গার্ডেনের দরজা দিয়ে চাবি খুলে বের হয়ে যাও। Okay. Unfortunately, on his way out, he meets Alfonso and knocks him down. Okay. So, যখন সে ডন জোয়ান চাবি নিয়ে গার্ডেনের দরজা দিয়ে বের হয়ে যাবে, তখনই তার সামনাসামনি পড়ে গেল। কার সামনাসামনি? ডন আলফান্সো। ডন আলফান্সো হিট ডন জোয়ান and they got stumbled. তারা দুজনেই পড়ে যায়। There is an scuffle, and in that scuffle মানে হচ্ছে এলোপাথারিভাবে হাতাহাতি, ধাক্কাধাক্কি, কাপড় ধরে টানাটানি। এরকম করতে গিয়ে কি হলো? ডন জোয়ান loses his only garments. That means ডন জোয়ান তার শরীরে একটাই কাপড় ছিল, সেই কাপড়টা এই টানাটানি হাতাহাতিতে কি হলো? সেই কাপড়টা খুলে গেল। যখন খুলে গেল, ডন জোয়ান flees naked into the night, and Don Juan left the room naked into the night. Alfonso sues for divorce after the incidents. Alfonso sues for divorce, and Juan's mother decides that her son should leave Seville and travel to various European countries for 4 years. After the incident, Alfonso asked a lawyer just to get separation from Donna Julia, and Donna Ines, Juan's mother, thought that yes, my young son shouldn't live here, and she should leave this place, Seville, and sent him in a European tour 4 years, for 2 years. Julia is put in a convent. So Julia was put in a religious career, and which she sent John a letter confessing her love for him and expressing no regret. Okay, so that is the end. That is the incident of this Canto 1. Okay, so that is the actually this first episode, Don Juan, ends at this point, and before concluding Canto 1, Byron adds 22 stanzas in which he entertains himself by giving a mocking statement of his intentions to regard to Don Juan, and taunts his contemporaries Wordsworth, Coleridge, Southey, and defends the morality of his story, and confesses that at 30 his hair is grey and his heart has lost its freshness, and comments on the evanescence of fame and says goodbye to his readers. Okay, so at that time, after Canto 1, Byron criticized William Wordsworth, Coleridge, and other a romantic poet, and he also tried to say that actually the story is not out of morality and other thing, and he defended that. Okay, so that was the situation and the story we have learned. And what happened in the first stanzas, Byron establishes the half playful and the mocking and the half serious tone, and that is going to pervade Don Juan. And when that is done, he gives his readers as the chief character in the first canto as a pair of married couples. That means we have got two married couples. They are both unhappily married. That means we have got Don Jose and Donna Ines. First married couple and second married couple is Don Alfonso and Donna Julia. Their marriages are mismatched. What is the effect? Actually, mismatched relationship will create problems in the society, and that was mentioned and indicated by Byron in his first canto. Donna Ines is cold and severe type woman, although she has evidently not always happened so. And it was generally known that in her younger days that she had an affair with Don Alfonso. Actually, most probably you can remember the biography of Byron. And in case of biography, we have seen that Lord Byron's father was like Don Jose, and Lord Byron's mother was like Donna Ines. Okay, so that is the portrayal of these Lord Byron's father and mother. It is generally known that in her younger days she had an affair with Don Alfonso. Don Jose is a good-natured, easygoing, kind man inclined to take his pleasures. We know that means Byron's father was like that. Like Byron's father was like Don Jose. Okay. And Byron's defense of him is that he had been badly brought up and that he was amorous by nature. That means Byron's father was amorous by nature and Don Jose was amorous by no other. Don Jose always tries to make merriment. And that's that same things we have found in Byron's father's characteristics. Okay. In the character of Donna Ines, Byron was satirizing against the advice of his friends. He estranged wife, Lord Byron, uh, uh, Donna Julia and Don Alfonso are mismatched by age, as Donna Ines and Don Jose are mismatched by incompatibility of characters and personality. So, move to marriage. Next marriage, that means Donna Julia and Don Alfonso, their relationship was unhappy for the cause of their mismatched age. Don Alfonso has nothing to offer Donna Julia except his name and his station. There was a marriage of convenience. Okay. So Byron doesn't bother to devote much characterization of Don Alfonso. He merely says he has neither very lovable nor very hateable. Okay, so Don Alfonso was not good, not bad. That means in between good and bad, Don Alfonso's character. He had a more or less negative personality, neither warm nor cold. Like any other husband, he did not care to be cuckolded. Okay. Byron is far more interested in the wives than in the husband and the characteristics rather than characterization characterizes them rather intensively. Neither portrait or flattering. Donna Inez is clearly malicious. In her, Byron was attacking his estranged wife. She is not a faithless wife. She is an intolerant and rather frigid one. Donna Julia's portrait of women as wife is likewise unflattering. She deceives herself and her husband. However, Byron makes reader feel sympathetic towards her in spite of her using her to show up women's wills. Okay, actually, Byron was had been portraying Donna Julia in such a way that means Donna Julia's is Donna Julia's characteristics become so for the cause of her mismatched marriage that was happened in that society. Donna Julia and Don Jose, had they been closer in age, might have a compatible pair. Okay, so if their marriage wouldn't be mismatched, then they would play a happy life. They would enjoy a happy life. And Donna Julia finds in Don Joe's son the warmth and heart, and that was in her, in the father. Donna Inez and Don Alfonso, who had been lovers at one time, might have gotten along well in marriage. So human nature and society, Byron seems to say, work against happy marriage. So what is the thing with these two couple? Byron wanted to say that actually, if Donna Julia, Donna Inez, Don Alfonso, and Don Jos, if they were married properly, understanding the mentality of the both man, wife, and husband, then the society will not have such kind of immorality. যদি ডোনা জুলিয়া, ডন জোস, ডন আলফান্সো ডোনা ইনেস সমাজের এই দুইটা কাপল দিয়ে বাইরন বলতে চেয়েছে যদি সমাজে যদি এরকম মিসম্যাচড পার্সোনালিটির গ্যাপ এবং এজের গ্যাপ এরকম বিয়ে যদি না হতো তাহলে সোসাইটি উইল the family life will be happy and the society will get rid of such kind of immoral activities that we have observed in this Don Juan chapter 1. Okay, the same of Byron's contemporaries found Byron's bedroom harsh immoral. It can be said that in his defense that his mocking presentation neutralizes any remote association of sin that there might be present in this story of illicit love. Okay, so nor does he supply any provocative details. Lastly, both Donna Julia and Don Juan are made to look ridiculous and both are punished for their guilt. Actually, Lord Byron also made the poetic justice. Poetic justice means in case of literature, the evil character will get punished. Okay, so Donna Julia committed an illicit love, and in the same way, Don Juan committed an illicit love that was against the society, against the religious norms, and against the customs. And for this reason, it is called illicit love affairs. And for this reason, Don Juan and Donna Julia, they got punished. In which way? Donna Julia started a convent life. She got separated from her husband Don Alfonso. So this was also that means convent life and means she will be a nun. Donna Julia will be a nun. That was her punishment. That means Donna Julia couldn't continue his normal life. And in the same way, we have got Don Juan left the country, and actually Don Juan's mother managed to send Don Juan out of his dwelling place. That is one kind of exile. So that was Don Juan's punishment. So for the cause of the illicit or immoral relationship of the society, that was done for the mismatched relationship. And for the mismatched relationship, the personality or the character, Don Juan and Donna Julia, they involved in illicit or immoral relationship, and for this reason they were got punished. So poetic justice will be there. That means the bad characters in Don Juan and also the Donna Julia, they got punished. And through this got punishment, they got poetic justice that was in this story. So this story was written in such a way, and the narrator prevented this reader. Okay, so Canto 1 of Don Juan is without any doubt the most interesting and entertaining and amusing of all the cantos. For anything of this kind comparable in quality and liveliness in English verse, and the reader has to go all the way back to Chaucer. Okay. So that is Donna Julia and Donna Inez. Okay, so we actually analyze the main character of this Don Juan, Canto 1. So Don Juan, at the age of 16, Don Juan uh, has completed his formal education and is ready to set out on the grand tour, which is in England, and often followed graduation of the university. So Don Juan, after graduation, he went Europe tour. And at the same time, we have observed that Byron himself had such kind of grand tour. So Don Juan became the picture of Byron himself. And also Don Juan's father, Don Jose, became the picture of Byron's father himself. And Don Juan's mother became the picture of Byron's mother. Okay. So Juan was the product of an experiment in education. So what type of character? Actually, what kind of education a child should have? Okay, that is the experiment that he did. That means Don Juan Byron did. And Byron wanted to convey that Juan had every kind of education, but he didn't have all kind of education related to his life. He had received instruction from tutors only and had not attended school. So that is the way Juan didn't get the education of his actual life. That is Don Juan. And he was taught the classics from expurgated education. As a consequence, had to learn the basic facts of the life from experience. He had not been taught the natural history. That means John had not been taught the natural history. His education had not prepared for him for Dona Julius and Hades. Since he belonged to the nobility, he has given instruction to the arts of war, riding, fencing, gunnery, and the techniques to be used in the assaulting a fortress. His education is also included an abundance of religious and moral instruction. And Juan is by nature kind, friendly, impulsive, courageous, and sensuous. He has all the virtues a boy of 16 can reasonably be expected to have, except self-control, or was not absent, except self-control in matters of sex. That means Byron wanted to say that in case of child education, sex education should be included. And if it is sure, then Byron cannot be like that. Okay. So sex education had not been a part of his formal education. And his mother's system was therefore indirectly responsible for his fall from grace in Canto 1 that we have observed in this action. That Don Juan's characters. And also, by the time he's 21 and Canto 14, Juan has lost some of his impulsiveness and naivety. Experience had been his teacher after he left his home at 16 or 17. He still has all his good qualities, but he has acquired a knowledge of the way of the world and is able to analyze and judge the world. So after getting the experience, actually, Don Juan had lacked in education, especially for the physical matters. That is, and for this reason, he got what kind of education? He got that kind of education from his observation, from his travel from the Europe, and from the experience he has, the knowledge. And finally, that means in Canto 14, we have observed that Don Juan become a matured man. He can understand. He is not guided by emotion. He is no more a sensuous boy. He has become a man, an old man, and a young man. And that young man can make the difference between right and wrong, can make the difference between good and bad, and can make the relationship, can understand the relationship that is sensuous or illicit and others. And for this reason, at this stage, he is no longer at the mercy of the impulse. Heart and head now work together. So at the time of making relationship, making relationship with Donna Julia, Don Juan was guided by heart, emotionally. That means there is no intellectually, there was no involvement of head. But after the travel, after his personal experience, John became a matured man. He can understand what is right and what is wrong. And for this reason, he can take a thing, he can do an activity with the guidance by his heart and also by the guidance of his head or intellectuality. So at this moment, heart and head run together. So that is the situation of Byron. So Lord Byron created that hero, that is the Don Juan, and that concept of Byron's hero will be sensuous, will be will be emotional, will be courteous, will be nobleman, but they will also be perfect in case of physical relationship. And why such kind of the lack of physical relationship, that Byron wanted to put that actually this is responsible. uh, Don Juan is not responsible. The Byronic hero is not responsible. Byronic hero became the product of the society. Which society? That society create mismatched relationship. What mismatched relationship? If Donna Inez, Don Julia, and if Don Julia and Don Alfonso had the good marriage relationship, actually Donna Julia wouldn't have love for Julia. They would be happy in their family life. That is the analogy. So Don Juan became immoral for the cause of the society's mismatched marriage relationship. What is the mismatched relationship? If Donna Julia and Don Alfonso had happy life, then Donna Julia wouldn't grow relationship with Don Juan. Okay, so that is one point. That means another point. And Don Juan, he became the Byronic hero, and that Byronic hero became the result of the society's mismatched marriage relationship. Another thing is that Don Juan became immoral for the cause of his lack of education. Lack of education means at that time, Donna Ines tried to teach Don Juan every aspect of life except the sex education. If the children at that time would be acquainted such kind of practical knowledge regarding life and relationship and sensuousness, then Don Juan would be happy, and he wouldn't be involved in such a illicit relationship with Donna and Julia. Okay, and how that can be mitigated? That means Lord Byron put Don Juan in a travel, in a tour, a Europe tour, and after getting involved with so many experience, as I have said, that in Lord Byron, Don Juan became the picture of Lord Byron. And in the Lord Byron, we have said that Lord Byron went in several relationships with several women. Okay. And in case of Don Juan, in Canto 1, we have got one relationship, but successively we will see that Lord Don Juan had involved in many relationships, and after getting so many relationships, so many illicit relationships, Byron wanted to put that that Lord Don Juan got his education through experience, and after getting experience from travel and practical experience, Don Juan became the matured man, and now Don Juan, the Byronic hero, is guided by head and heart together. That is Don Juan. Okay, so Donna Julia, another character we can talk about, and we will finish today's class. So Donna Julia is a young woman of 23 who is married to a man of 50. The personality of her husband is neither attractive nor repulsive. It is neutral, and he is incapable of giving his wife the affection and the comradeship that she needs. And this she finds in Don Juan, and therefore is powerful, attracted to him. And she is not basically hypocritical, but she is desperately in need of love. Actually, a girl or a young girl of 23 years of age, she had been expecting love from her husband that he didn't get from Don Alfonso. And for this reason, he started love. He started making relationship with Don Juan. She doesn't know herself well, and when she begins to find in Don Juan that what is lacking in her life, nature takes over and cooperates with her frustration. So she falls in love with Juan as she had not been able to fall in love with her husband. So Donna Julia, she fall in love with Don Juan because she didn't get love from her husband. Her eyes are gradually open to what is happening in her, but by this time, love is so firmly rooted in her that she becomes hypocrite both in regard to herself and in regard to her husband. She knows she should avoid Joan, and she tries to resolve the conflict in herself by rationalizing. She tries to persuade herself that her love is only friendship, and her conscience becomes wrapped in the process. Once she falls, her conscience ceases to bother her, and it is Donna Julia and that hardened sinner who tries to turn the table on her husband in her brilliant invective, and when he bursts into her room and in search of her lover. So this is about Don Juan Canto 1. So we have gone through the story in brief, and then we have analyzed the things that is going on in this Canto 1 Don Juan. Okay, so if you have any questions, then